Welcome to Mission Evolution Radio Show with Gwilda Wiyaka, bringing together today's leading experts to uncover ever-deepening spiritual truths and the latest scientific developments in support of the evolution of humankind. For more information on Mission Evolution Radio with Gwilda Wiyaka, visit www.missionevolution.org. And now, here's the host of Mission Evolution, Miss Gwilda Wiyaka.
Welcome to Mission Evolution, where we explore the deeper questions of human potential, conscious leadership, and what it truly means to evolve individually and collectively. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka, and today we're diving into a powerful conversation about the unseen forces that shape our lives, our choices, and our success. My guest this hour, Judith Sherven, is a clinical psychologist, executive coach, author, and internationally respected authority on human behavior and leadership. For decades, Judith has worked with individuals and organizations to uncover the unconscious beliefs that quietly limit.
Gwilda,
Mhm.
you said her name wrong.
Did I? Well,
Yeah.
say it right for me.
It's
All right.
Sherven.
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 Okay,
Sure.
I looked it up, and they said it differently. How dare they? All right.
Sorry about that, ladies.
I'm sorry about it.
Sorry. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Banana.
Banana who?
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Banana.
Banana who?
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Orange.
Orange who?
Aren't you glad I didn't say banana again? Let's go black.
Oh,
Welcome to Mission Evolution Radio Show with Gwilda Wiyaka, bringing together today's leading experts to uncover ever-deepening spiritual truths and the latest scientific developments in support of the evolution of humankind. For more information on Mission Evolution Radio with Gwilda Wiyaka, visit www.missionevolution.org. And now, here's the host of Mission Evolution, Miss Gwilda Wiyaka.
Welcome to Mission Evolution, where we explore the deeper questions of human potential, conscious leadership, and what it truly means to evolve individually and collectively. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka, and today we're diving into a powerful conversation about the unseen forces that shape our lives, our choices, and our success. My guest this hour is Judith Sherven, a clinical psychologist, executive coach, author, and internationally respected authority on human behavior and leadership. For decades, Judith has worked with individuals and organizations to uncover the unconscious beliefs that quietly limit growth, even among highly accomplished people. She's best known for identifying what she calls the fear of being fabulous, that subtle inner resistance many people experience when they're on the brink of stepping fully into their potential. Her website, overcomingthefearofbeingfabulous.com. Today we'll explore how unconscious patterns shape our identity, why success can sometimes feel threatening, and how awareness can open the door to a more authentic, fulfilled, and expansive life. This is a conversation about courage, clarity, and conscious evolution. Judith, thanks for joining us on Mission Evolution.
It's my pleasure to be with you. And Gwilda, this is a joy to meet you as well.
It's wonderful to meet you. I've been looking forward to this, Judith. So tell me, you've had a remarkable diverse life from acting and modeling to psychotherapy and executive coaching. What inspired that transition?
Well, truly, my husband, who was also an actor, uh, before we met, we've talked about the fact that we never, because of our upbringings, we both came from lower middle class families. So we were already exceeding the success our fathers had enjoyed, and our mothers didn't work. And it did not cross our minds really to say to our agents, make me a star, get me a running part on a series, get me out there. We just went from this television show in my case, and for Jim, he did largely stage work, but also some television. And then finally, for me, and Jim had a different trajectory, but for me, it was like, well, I've sold what I look like and my talent. I think it's time to sell my brains. And I went back to school and got my PhD in clinical psychology and started having my own private practice in Santa Monica, California. And then when Jim and I met, we started doing executive coaching and and we could keep going in terms of what all happened. But I think largely the fear of being fabulous was playing out at an unconscious level.
How do your early experiences in entertainment shape your understanding of human behavior?
It's interesting what so many people do that we meet with and talk with is they also feel limited. They feel like they can't ask for a promotion. That is a large issue for so many people. And we talk with them and say, please go to your manager and say, what do I need to do to get you to promote me to the next level? And they're surprised that that would be so simple. And we're saying, don't necessarily go ask immediately for a promotion. That might be a little too shocking. But do ask, what do you need to do in your work to be qualified for the next level and then be promoted? And so often their managers are thrilled with the question. And sometimes I remember one woman came back and she said, my manager said, oh, thank you for asking. I've been meaning to promote you. I've been so busy, and we'll put that in place, and probably within 6 months I'll get you promoted. Great fun.
It sounds like people, well, even when you were describing your earlier experience, that it doesn't occur to people to do anything but just kind of sit back and take what's handed, maybe try to do their best in hopes of earning it. But if they don't reach out, nobody knows they have interest in moving up. Is that what's going on there?
That's absolutely, Gwilda, perfect. You just nailed it. I look back on, I did a tiny little role in one of the original Star Trek series. And Bill Shatner and I walked down back and forth, and he shouted out to the director, Joe, she's funny. Great. That was terrific. My little part was over by the end of day. I left. I never went back to Shatner and said, Bill, remember I'm funny. Get me back here. I didn't go over to the director, Joe, and say, Bill thinks I'm funny. Get me back here. I didn't say to my agent, Bill shouted out to Joe, the director, she's funny. Get me back on the show. And I did not contact the casting director and say, get me back. So there are 4 times that I was just simply passive, went to work, did my part, and went home.
If they don't take that step, look like they're happy where they are and don't have any ambition to move forward. Is that what you're seeing?
Exactly. You are saying it exactly correct. That people will, accept you as you present yourself. I want to say that again for everybody watching. People will accept you as you present yourself. So if you present yourself as passive and you are accepting exactly where you are, great. That's where people see you. But if you're ambitious and you go forward and you want more and you step forward and you ask for more, you're likely to get it.
So you and your husband Jim, have worked together for decades. How's your personal partnership influenced your professional work?
Well, we work together beautifully and have enjoyed that enormously. And in terms of our work, we almost always, when we're coaching, get hired as a team. And so when people get coached by both of us, they get my direct, no nonsense point of view. And Jim is a little more philosophical and he sees things a little differently. So they get both of us. They get both points of view.
Do you think the male-female balance and representation has anything to do with that?
Oh, well, I've not thought of it that way, but I think you're probably right. And I think that is helpful to so many people to have a couple, male and female, providing those two different points of view.
Do you kind of switch points of view sometimes, or you pretty much stay in your role?
Well, I think it's not so much even staying in our role as much as the way we see things. And so it's hard for me to switch over to Jim's more philosophical point of view because I just don't see the world that way. And we've enjoyed it. I think that's really, Gwilda, I think the most important thing is that we enjoy working together and blending those two points of view together.
Speaking of work, do you find it work to keep the relationship clear and the ability to work together?
Not really. It's not really work. We've enjoyed the ways that each of us approach things, and so that has been really fun. And really not work in the sense of work, terrible work.
You've coined the phrase fear of being fabulous. What does that mean, and how did you come to recognize it?
We discovered that phrase on our first meeting on a blind date. And in discussing the fact that we've both been actors, both been professional actors, both been paid. I did a lot of television. I did tons of commercials and television shows. And Jim did a lot of stage work and also television shows. And we ended up saying, well, it seemed like we both had the fear of being fabulous. And we hung on to that phrase and kept using it with clients as we were coaching them. And we were saying, wow, it sounds like you have a fear of being fabulous. And so often we would talk with people about what was your family like? What did you grow up in? And very often we would hear some version of what Jim and I struggled to get out of, which was both of our fathers were just paying the bills with their work. My dad sold used cars. He was a hothead, but he could outsell anybody. And when I say he was a hothead, he had 30 jobs in 28 years because he would get mad if he felt like he was cheated or he felt anything was going on that he didn't like. He would just blow up and leave. But I grew up in Los Angeles. We lived in Los Angeles. He could go anywhere and find another job immediately because he was so good at selling. So he was good at what he did, but he could not be ambitious. And that was what Jim and I talked about, was the fear of being fabulous.
How do unconscious beliefs and internal loyalties quietly hold people back from success?
There, you nailed it. We believe strongly that people have unconscious loyalties in many ways to how they were raised. When a child, let me just put it this way, until the age of 7, the brain is not developed enough for you to actually consider alternative ways to think about things. So if you are told over and over that you're a rotten little kid, or you're always getting into trouble, or I wish I hadn't ever had you, or whatever you might have been told that was negative or limiting, you believe it. Only when you get to the age of 7-ish does the brain finally have the maturity to actually be able to consider, my mother told me that I was a rotten little kid. I don't think I am. I'm doing well in school. I clean up my room. I help with the dishes after dinner. I don't think I'm a rotten kid. I think my mother's having a fit. Or some way of looking at things. But if you've been told over and over and over before the age of 7 that you are a rotten little kid, or you'll never amount to anything, you'll never amount to anything.
Well, Judith, it's time for us to take a station break. Judith and I will return very shortly, so please don't go away. This is Mission Evolution, www.missionevolution.org. Is your unconscious mind shooting you in the foot? With us this hour discussing the mysterious workings of the unconscious is Judith Sherven. Judith is the author of Overcoming the Fear of Being Fabulous. Judith, what's an unconscious holdback and how does it show up in everyday life?
The most vivid example is for most people, when they are paid a compliment, somebody simply says, "You look great today." The unconscious kicks in and they say something like, no big deal. They don't really take it in. They don't receive, because the unconscious is spitting it out and getting rid of it. So when somebody compliments, and so I just want to say to everybody watching, please, when somebody compliments you, whether it's "you look great today," "what a terrific hairdo," whatever it might be, please take it in. Take that moment to let it get inside of you and register. Because if you don't, and you just spit it out and you just say, "Oh, no big deal," it doesn't lodge inside your conscious identity. And what we're after here is to help you become more conscious of how terrific you actually are. And actually, one of the things, Gwilda, that I would just offer is for people to go look at youareamiracle.net. Youareamiracle.net provides a 2-minute video about how fabulous you are, how fabulous you really are.
Why is it so easy for people to listen to and believe criticism and negative things, and yet they can't let in the positive? What causes that?
Perfect question. If you are raised in a family where criticism is the rule of the day, your room is dirty, pick that up, you're always a mess, whatever it might be, that's normal. That feels like the healthy, normal way you are to receive information. Compliments feel strange. they feel irritating. Some people have even told us they make me feel sick. I feel sick to my stomach when I hear somebody rave about my work or rave about how terrific I am. I can't receive it. It makes me feel nauseated. We have to really respect how deeply we take in the information that was given to us before the age of 7. And if it was critical and if it was negative, that feels normal.
We end up running the same tapes for ourselves, even though there's not someone there to criticize us anymore.
Exactly. Exactly. If somebody is praising us, it's so easy to just say, oh, well, they're just shining me on. They're just, whatever it might be, to get rid of the praise that they are sending you and to diminish it and put it down.
What are the first steps a person can take to start breaking up those loops and negative thinking?
I would recommend that the very first thing that everyone do is receive compliments. Truly, it seems so simple, but when you let yourself say thank you, as simple as that, when somebody says you look great today, or it's such a pleasure having you on my team, whatever it might be, thank you. And if you could add, I really appreciate that, that would be even better. What you're wanting to do is take it in. Own the fact that they really are pleased to have you on their team, or they're praising how great you look today, whatever it might be. Take it in and own it. It will feel a little uncomfortable at first, maybe a lot uncomfortable, but it will help you change how you see yourself.
What are the most common internal blocks you see in successful professionals and leaders?
I don't deserve the next promotion. That is one of the things we hear from people often, even if they've been promoted. I don't really deserve this. I'm just going through the motions. Meanwhile, they may be getting praise. They may even be getting a raise. But if the internal voice is, cooking along the lines we're talking about, they are busy saying, I don't know what they see. I'm doing my best, but I don't think it's good enough. I don't think it's good enough. That is what they are talking to themselves about. It doesn't matter what anybody else sees. They have been taught to put themselves down or limit how they see their own growth, their own production in their families of origin. And they are still being loyal to where they came from rather than the outer world that they are in now.
Which brings us to the next question. Is the fear of being fabulous connected with imposter syndrome? And if so, how?
Of course. And the imposter syndrome has become such a popular way of talking about this in these current days. People who get they get a raise, they get a promotion, and they feel like an imposter. This is another way of looking at this. And they are not being an imposter, really. People clearly see them as valuable, and their promotion is valid, and they enjoy working with the person who thinks they're an imposter. But that little 6-year-old, 5-year-old voice that was put down in their growing up years is still running the show. Sad to say. And that's why the imposter syndrome has become so popular, is so many people are struggling to own how magnificent they really are.
Can you share a transformational story of someone who overcame these inner limits?
Ah, I'm thinking of a woman that we coached. I'm not going to mention her name or the company, but she was struggling to feel like she belonged on the team that they had promoted her to and the title they had given her. And when we said, please give us some examples of how you are supervising your team and tell us how that team is succeeding because of your supervision, she readily mapped out 2 or 3 examples. My memory is that there were 3 examples of how she had guided her team to enjoy success and create the next level of what her team was needing to do for the company and doing it well. And we said, so now you did that. That's something you own. You supervised them. You promoted them into this next position. Yes, she said yes. Oh, yes. What is the difficulty with you owning it? Well, if I owned it, I would have to betray my mother, who said women can never be really good at supervision.
At least she accessed it.
That was the issue.
How common is that? It seems like, a lot of people hold themselves back because they feel like they're betraying a parent that they're going to surpass.
Exactly. I still remember my mother asking me before Jim and I met, asking me what I charged for individual psychotherapy. And I told her, and this is way back, but back then it was $175 an hour. And I still remember the look on her face was, she absolutely was sort of struck by how outrageous it seemed to her. And my memory is that I tried to cover her shock by saying something like, I know that seems like a lot, Mom. It's a different day than when you were selling real estate back in your day. But people pay me. I have a full-time practice. I don't think she ever recovered.
I can understand. What's the first step someone should take when they realize they're holding themselves back for whatever reason?
It depends on what area that they are holding themselves back. But let me just give a couple more examples of where people can push themselves out and become a stronger individual. For instance, there's so many people who buy something at the store. It's not acceptable, whatever it might be, whether it's a garment that when they get it home, they try it on again, it doesn't fit right. They don't take it back. They give it to the neighbor or they give it to Goodwill, whatever. They don't take it back. Or they order something in a restaurant and it comes and it's not the way they ordered it. They don't say to the waiter, I need this to be adjusted and I ordered my steak rare and it came well done, whatever it might be. Whenever you are not speaking up and taking care of yourself, you are being a passive victim of the situation. So anytime you feel like you are being a victim, anytime you feel like you are being passive, please, please, please push yourself out there to whatever degree you can and take that item back to the store or tell the waiter you need this, the soup came cold. You wanted it, you didn't order cold soup, you ordered hot soup and you want it heated up. Speak up for yourself. Do not be a victim.
Is there another side of that where a person can be too aggressive and put it off on everybody else?
Wow, I've not really thought about putting it on everybody else, but if they are blaming other people, then we're into some other dynamic that is an issue, and we have to find out why they want to blame everybody else. But the issue really is, why aren't they taking care of themselves?
And making it about somebody else. Well, it's time for us to take another station break. Judith and I will be right back to continue our discussion, so you stay right there. This is Mission Evolution, www.missionevolution.org. Are you stuck in an old zone? This is Mission Evolution, missionevolution.org. With us discussing evolving beyond our comfort zone is Judith Sherven. Her website, overcomingthefearofbeingfabulous.com. Judith, are there simple daily practices people can use to expand beyond their comfort zones?
Yes, and one I've already mentioned, which is accepting compliments. Please, please accept your compliments. But also in terms of daily habits. For instance, a lot of people just throw on old grubby clothes because they're working at home, and who cares? But why do that? Why let yourself feel grubby, even though you're working at home? Get dressed up. I don't mean dressed up like fancy to go out and have a party. I mean just get dressed and feel good about yourself, so that no matter who you're talking with, no matter what you're doing, you feel like you are a professional person at home. And even if what you're doing is being a housewife and you have a lot of things you're doing around the house, that is your profession. That is who you are professionally. You are a housewife, and do it well. Whatever you are doing, make sure that you feel responsible and professional about yourself. I think that is the best way that people can feel good about themselves and extend out how they are coming across.
How do people deal with fear, criticism, or self doubt when stepping into greater visibility?
Well, isn't that an interesting question? If you have received criticism, check within. Does it fit? Maybe not. Maybe it doesn't fit at all. In which case, you can say, well, thanks for your opinion, but I don't agree with you. I don't see it that way. If it does fit, wow, here's an opportunity to grow. Please help me understand even more fully what you're talking about. I want to grow into what you are seeing that I'm possibly, how am I trying to say this? That I want to grow into how you are seeing that I can be. So please help me. Describe it more fully for me. I look back, Gwilda, years ago, one of my acting agents back in New York City, this is after college, he said, I'd like to become your manager for you as an actor. Without asking him anything about what that meant for him to become my manager and not just my agent, I said, no, I need to go back to Los Angeles and get married, because that's how I'd been raised. That's what my parents had guided me to do, was get married. Well, I didn't meet Jim for 22 more years after that. And sure, I went with different men, and I was engaged to be engaged with a couple of men. But it was 22 more years before I met Jim and actually got married. I didn't have a discussion with this agent who wanted to manage my acting career. I didn't say, what do you have in mind? How do you see how this would unfold? I didn't ask for more information. I just cut him off and said, no, I need to go back to Los Angeles and get married.
One opportunity lost.
Isn't that the truth?
From your experience, what patterns separate truly successful teams from those that struggle?
Oh, goodness. One of the things we've seen for teams that really succeed is that they hold meetings where the entire team is present, and they provide step-by-step executions on what they're going to do next. And they get input from everybody on the team of what that means for them, what behaviors they are going to execute to get there. Teams that are having trouble, and we've coached so many teams over the years, teams that are having trouble are busy ignoring the troublemakers, if there are troublemakers, and there certainly have been, and they ignore them rather than saying, Candy or Cindy or whatever, stop interrupting, stop doing this, whatever it might be, and really rein that person in, or even get rid of that person. If you can't join us as a team member more fully, we're going to have to we're going to have to cancel your membership in this team. You're going to have to find another job here at the company, whatever it might be. The teams that are having trouble do not function as a team. I think that's the easiest way to say it, is they hold out for the strong performers, and the people that are not doing well, they just carry them along, but it ruins the professionalism of the team.
So everybody has to hold their weight, pull their weight.
Yes, you want on a team, you want everybody holding their weight and doing their job professionally, excellently, and so that every time you meet as a team, everybody is reporting success.
What's the difference between external success and deeply fulfilling success?
Wow. Deeply fulfilling success is when you internally feel you accomplished what you set out to do, and you did it well by your own standards. From the external, they may have praised you way early on, and you're not ready to receive that praise quite yet. But you do. You say, thanks. But inside, you know that for your own self-fulfillment, you need to push a little harder. Does that answer what you're looking for?
Yeah, it really does. It really does. How does personal identity influence leadership effectiveness?
We coached a woman years ago whose personal identity, because of how she'd been raised, was pretty shaky. But the person that referred her to us, who was a senior member of a particular company, saw her potential. And we had to work with her in terms of how she was seeing herself. Not just guiding her to take on more responsibility, which she was willing to do, but also to begin to own more and more and more her expertise and her ability to learn, so that she could grow, and as she did. So she moved from being a new manager, all the way up to being an SVP, a senior vice president. before she retired. It was very fun to watch her, and we got to coach her all through that whole process. It was several years.
That
And
has to be very fulfilling for you.
it was very fulfilling. And it was also marvelous to see when she would, on her own, say, I think it's time for me to go and speak publicly. Such and such a group has asked me to come speak, not part of the company, but someplace else. And I'm going to do it. It's like, yes, perfect, go do it. And she had to grow as a speaker. She used to wobble back and forth, she used to shuffle. It's like, stop that. But working with us, we helped her just grow in so many ways.
What does authentic confidence look like?
I think authentic confidence is firm. When you meet somebody who is really solid and firm in their selfhood, in their identity, you can feel it. You feel from them that they know who they are. They've grown a great deal. They've gone through all kinds of challenges. And who you are meeting is solid. They are solid in their identity.
What advice would you give someone stepping into high pressure leadership role for the first time?
Whoa. Well, I would urge them to get a coach, to work with somebody, whether it's a therapist or a coach, somebody that can help them unload their discomfort, their insecurities, and work through how they need to grow in order to fulfill what the company is asking them to do in this high-powered job, and not use anybody in the company to talk about how insecure they feel. That is not going to help them. But to be able to talk to a coach or a therapist and unload that insecurity and work through it, and then go back into the workplace and be more solid, execute more fully. Yes.
You talk about keys to creating a new life. What's one key everybody needs to hear about right now?
Well, certainly, and I've already mentioned it, but I'm going to say it again. Accepting compliments is absolutely key. So many people have difficulty receiving praise and compliments. I think the other key issue is knowing what you want next and working toward it. Other people may not be seeing this, but you know that you are working toward your next promotion or your next job. You may want to leave the job you're in and go elsewhere, and you are doing the background work to make that happen. Other people may not see you doing that at all, but we would encourage you to keep growing. I think is the most important thing, is to keep doing more of who you really are.
Can you tell us about your Being Fabulous in Business work? Who benefits the most from it?
beingfabulousinbusiness.com, beingfabulousinbusiness.com. Who benefits the most? Certainly, growing who you are in your role in the company benefits you the most, but also benefits your manager, benefits your team, benefits the company. Every time you take a larger step into responsibility, into calling attention to what needs to happen next, that helps you grow, and it helps your team grow, it helps the company grow.
Seems like it's pretty important to not just settle or get stuck in a rut, and to keep moving forward from what you've been saying.
Well, exactly. I think so many people do just get stuck in a rut in their work. They do their job, and for some people that's fine. They don't aspire to growing at all. They're happy with their home life, they're happy with their job, they're happy with their income. Fine, we accept that. But for so many other people, it's really important to grow.
Keep growing. Well, it's time for us to take another station break. Judith and I will continue to explore the reaches of human potential. This is Mission Evolution, missionevolution.org. Can you be fabulous? This is Mission Evolution, missionevolution.org. We're continuing our discussion with Judith Sherven. Judith, how did writing books and developing programs expand your impact beyond one-on-one coaching?
Well, of course, when people buy our books and read them, even Jim's fiction books, it helps people grow. We've had people say, wow, I grew up just like this. I'm referring to some of Jim's books, and Ambition to Belong is one of Jim's, and it was partly fiction, but partly true. It's called Faction now these days. And people have written to us and said, wow, I grew up just like that. And it has helped me to feel more confident at going forward. I think Gwilda, I think in terms of getting our books out there, getting our workshops out there, and overcoming the fear of being fabulous.com/workshop is what helps people. And people have written to us and said, wow, that was so intense and so private, helped me change my relationship with how I grew up, helped me grow, helped me get out there more. I think anything that helps, whether it's the workshops or books, anything besides the coaching that helps people feel more confident, feel more settled in who they have become, and realize that, yes, their basic job is to leave home. And I know that a lot of people hearing me say that may be thinking, no, you're supposed to stay loyal to your family. Yes, you can stay loyal in terms of going home for the holidays, whatever it might be, phone calls every week. That's fine. But what's not fine is if you stay stuck in their idea of who you are. You need to become more of who you think you are, who you want to become, who you want to be, and let yourself grow into that larger, more present, more capable, more excellent person. And sometimes people need a push. I remember a woman stopping us on the street when we lived in a little town, Windham, New York. And she said, my fiance and I have been fighting and arguing with each other, and be loved for who you really are really helped me see that, of course, you're going to argue and it's okay. And we both relaxed. I was like, okay, we can go out back to planning our wedding.
Judith, what does being fabulous mean to you on a deeper personal level?
Oh, thank you. My husband notices and sort of chuckles once in a while that every day, no matter whether we are ever leaving the house or not, I put my makeup on. I get dressed. I feel more fabulous when I am put together. Some people just throw themselves together on days that they're just going to go to the gym or hang out. I never have. I've always felt like being fabulous means being all that I can be. And whether it's being on your show and enjoying being with you, or going to the gym later, which we will, either way, I get to be fabulous.
How do you continue growing and staying inspired in your own life?
Well, isn't that a question? And certainly I'm no spring chicken anymore. I think it's taking on new roles, learning more. My husband and I just spent the weekend at a workshop. What it was about is not relevant, but we were there to learn. And we did. And actually signed up for the next course. What we see is that people end up getting retired and sometimes end up depressed because nothing's going on in their lives except get up, watch television, go play golf, get up, go watch television, play golf. It's the same old, same old. There's no need for that. When you are of any age, make sure that you are enjoying being who you are and learning more out in the world or internally. It doesn't matter what you choose to do. Expand, expand, expand.
I know there have been studies done that show that, particularly as we age, if we just get into a rut and do the mundania, our cognitive abilities decrease rapidly. Where if we keep engaging new things and keep creative, they don't. Is that play in with what you're telling us here?
Exactly. That fits perfectly with what you just said. Keep growing, no matter your age. Maybe you've seen Dick Van Dyke, who just turned 100.
I know it. Isn't that amazing?
Isn't that terrific? And he works out every day. He doesn't go to the gym, but he has a whole workout program that I've seen on MSN News. And that's part of how he sees that he has helped himself stay really quite confident as he turns to 100 years old. And who knows how old he'll be when he finally departs this planet.
What an inspiration.
Exactly, exactly.
What belief about human potential do you think most people underestimate?
Oh, goodness. I think we just talked about it. I think people underestimate the power of growing, the power of learning, the power of doing new things. They underestimate how much that influences how they feel about being alive.
Let's talk about identity. Okay. Um, it seems like a lot of people, most of us actually, identify with what we've been told about ourselves or identify with the criticism we get, but really don't have any clue as to what our true inner being is or our true potential. Do you find that to be true? And if so, what's your advice on getting out of that loop?
Well, yes, and then we do see that happening so often with people that, and I've already said, make sure that you go to youareamiracle.net to see the 2-minute video we put together, because people need to understand that they cannot be someone else. They cannot be who their parents wanted them to be. They can only be who they actually are. So when you underestimate your competence, when you underestimate your gifts, when you underestimate how unique you are, that is going to leave you a bit depressed and tired and bored, and often you're not living a very full life. But when you expand into your unique self, who knows what you might do?
How about identifying with where we are in life? Like, oh, I'm a mother, and then, oh, I'm an older person, or then I'm an ancient person. Do we limit ourselves with those identities?
Oh, I think so. I think very much so. I think my mother, for instance, she saw herself as a mother all her life. Even later, when she started selling real estate, and did very well. I think she still viewed herself as the mother of myself and my brother. I have a younger brother. Way too much. And was too, for instance, my brother and his wife have 2 kids. And she got very involved in what was her grandchildren, but their children, such that they had to move out of state to get my mother to stop being intrusive and pesky about being a grandmother. But back then she was selling real estate and she was not seeing herself that way. I hope that answered what you were saying.
It really does. It really does. Because if we get stuck in a role, everybody around us suffers for it, it seems like.
Yes, truly. Well, she's deceased. So she was trying to feed would be my nephew, her grandson, cupcakes for breakfast. She thought he was too skinny. Well, yes, she grew up in the Depression. There were days, she told us, that if she had an orange, that was all the food that she would have in the day, because she grew up during the Depression in Iowa, in the city. My brother and I both were fed malted milk, banana malted milks at bedtime. Why? Because she thought we were too skinny. We've each struggled with our weight our whole lives because of that. So to stop my mother from feeding cupcakes to her grandson, my brother and his wife and family, they moved to another state.
That's sad.
Isn't that sad? They could not get her to stop it.
That depression left a lot of wounds on a lot of people.
Yes, indeed.
Well, it's that time in the show, Judith, when I get to ask you, what's your mission?
My mission now is to grow another leg of our career, and to develop that arm of what we're doing. We're not in place yet to do it, so I'm not going to mention exactly what it is, but it's certainly requiring growth. It's requiring me to overcome some anxiety about it. And I'm also aware that it's also creating excitement, and I'm learning. I'm having to learn more, and it's all good.
Pushing beyond our limitations once again, yes?
Yes, always. Exactly. Pushing. And I'm still in really good health. So why not?
Why not? Well, Judith, unfortunately, we are out of time. I can't thank you enough for coming on the show and sharing your wisdom.
It's my pleasure, and it's been a pleasure speaking with you and sharing all kinds of information with your audience.
My guest today has been Judith Sherven, PhD. To find out more about Judith and all she has to offer, visit her website, overcomingthefearofbeingfabulous.com. If there's one message to take from this conversation, its growth doesn't require becoming someone new. It requires releasing what no longer serves who you really are. Evolution begins with awareness. When we bring light into our unconscious beliefs, we gain the freedom to choose differently, live more fully, and step into our lives with confidence and purpose. If today's conversation resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on where you might be holding yourself back, not out of fear of failure, but out of fear of shining. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, and this has been Mission Evolution, where transformation begins with truth and evolution begins within. For more information or to enjoy past archived episodes, visit missionevolution.org. But please, be sure to join us again right here next time, as this mission will continue, bringing information, resources, and support to our rapidly evolving world.